I have watched dozens of Andrew Huberman's podcast episodes, and from around probably 100+ hours of just listening to this guy talk about science-based health tips, here are the 5 most important daily habits that you can start to implement into your own life for optimal energy and focus. And so, just to get straight into this little synthesis summary, the first is morning bright light exposure. So, what does that actually mean? We are always told, or at least from Huberman, that we are to always prioritize getting morning sunlight as soon as we wake up. And the reason being is because viewing bright light early in the day helps anchor our circadian rhythm. And our circadian rhythm is actually responsible for pretty much everything when it comes to energy and focus throughout the day. And that is because your circadian rhythm dictates your cortisol levels, your stress, and your overall alertness and mood. Sorry if my handwriting is shit. It probably is. And you probably can't read a single thing I just wrote. But essentially, morning sunlight sets a optimal circadian rhythm, which then leads to optimal cortisol levels, stress levels, and alertness and mood. This is something that Andrew discusses in a lot of his sleep videos, and where he just explains how light through the eyes influences wakefulness, melatonin timing, and just general energy. And so, how do you actually implement this into your life? It's really just as simple as spending 10 to 30 minutes outside as soon as you wake up. And ideally, you want to do this without glasses and not through a window. And even if it's cloudy, like just the act of being outside and just getting some sort of sunlight, even though it might not seem that much because it's cloudy, there is still like sun rays that are penetrating through the clouds. So you are still getting some. Granted, you might need to stay out a little bit longer, but the fact still stands that you are still exposing yourself or exposing your eyes to light to set that optimal circadian rhythm as soon as you wake up in the morning. And so the second daily habit is to just delay your caffeine intake. And ideally, you want to delay your caffeine intake 90 to 120 minutes after waking. And the reason being is because it is generally recommended, not just from Andrew Huberman, but from other health professionals, to wait to consume caffeine around 1.5 to 2 hours after waking to allow cortisol rhythms to run their natural course. And so this can actually prevent early disruption of natural alertness cycles and reduces crash risk later, like that normal caffeine crash that a lot of people associate with caffeine. That's why they try to avoid caffeine in general. But there's actually a way to mitigate that and avoid the crash overall, and that is simply just by delaying your caffeine intake. And doing this also helps avoid interfering with your body's natural adrenal and cortisol wake-up mechanism. And so, again, to apply this to your life immediately, just instead of grabbing for a cup of coffee first thing in the morning, just delay it. So it's sort of the opposite with the sunlight. So as soon as you wake up, you want to get sunlight. But then with the caffeine, you want to wait a little bit. So maybe you could have your caffeine a little bit after you get your morning sunlight. And then the third tip or habit that you can do to really improve your energy and focus levels throughout the day is to implement deep work sessions. And this is something that you have probably heard of if you are within like the whole online business or even just normal business or even just school academia kind of field of content, is deep work sessions. And that is because being able to focus and get as much work done as you can within one singular session is way more productive than if you were to scatter your energy and focus throughout small increments throughout the day. And so to improve focus, Huberman outlines phases where you are entering focus, maintaining it, and then defocusing or decompressing before the next round or like your next focus session. And he recommends working in like 90 to 120 minute bouts, where he also emphasizes environment, screen position, visual focus, and alternating tasks or just task variation to maintain cognitive energy. And that is because being able to focus for a long period of time. Well, maybe not even like a long period of time, just like an hour to an hour and a half, where you are just strictly focused on the task at hand, is way more productive than if you were to have scattered work sessions where the breaks in between those work sessions distract your mind from what you were doing initially. For example, you will get so much more work done if you spend an hour doing homework and nothing else. Like if you just spent that entire 60 minutes just doing homework, whereas if you were to spend 60 minutes doing homework while also constantly checking your phone every like 10 to 15 minutes, the hour that you spent doing homework where it's literally just your homework, your phone is in a different room, you have no distractions that is tugging your attention away from your homework, that that single work session is a million times more effective than all the other work sessions that you had where you are constantly changing tasks. And so the best way to implement deep work sessions is to have 60 to 90-minute sessions where you are just completely focused on the task at hand. And then after your deep work session, it might be a good idea to have a little break, something like a 10 to 15-minute break. And the reason why this is because Huberman actually breaks down focus into, or focused work, focus sessions into three main phases. The first phase is entering focus. Then the second phase is maintaining it. And the third phase is to defocus or to decompress. And so this little 10 to 15-minute break after your initial deep work session is that little defocusing phase where you are just kind of letting your brain recover. It's like how in the gym, after a hard set, you kind of give yourself some rest time so that for the next set, you are way better prepared to go and lift that heavy weight. It's the same thing with your brain as well. You have to treat your brain like a muscle because not only does it need the proper nutrients, the proper hydration, and the proper sleep to be able to function at its peak levels, but you also have to factor in the mental tasks, the cognitive tasks, and the things in your life that take mental energy to actually do. You have to treat it again like a muscle. It needs rest and it needs time under tension. So this, your deep work session, is the time under tension where you are actually putting your brain at work to make some sort of progress, and the rest afterwards is just letting it recover for the next session. And so the fourth habit is just movement and exercise. And you might be thinking, like, what does movement have to do with my focus and energy? Well, Huberman actually notes that the benefits of movement, and this could just be light movement like doing some jumping jacks or just walking. Even little exercises like that completely elevates your energy levels because it prompts circulation and alertness. Because I'm sure you've had those times when you start to do an exercise and you just start to feel more awake. You start to feel more energized. Like the amount of times that I don't feel like working out because I'm still trying to wake up. The minute I start that first exercise, I almost instantly feel more awake. And so when you take that principle and apply it to times when you need the energy boost, like times when you feel tired, like when you're waking up in the morning or when you feel tired middle of the day or when you feel tired in class, like you can just do some light movement. And Huberman also uses this term exercise snacks, which is basically, it's like just doing some sort of light movement in the middle of the day when you feel like you need it just to wake yourself up. And that I feel like is one of the most powerful habits that you can do to increase your energy naturally, is just doing some sort of light movement to just get the blood flowing and to just kind of stimulate your brain that you need to be energized. And so the fifth and final habit that I believe to be the most practical for everyday life is to just prioritize consistent sleep. And the reason why this is because what we were talking about in the first habit of morning sunlight to set an optimal circadian rhythm, consistent sleep schedules do the exact same thing. And this is also something that I have experienced firsthand. So before I was into like all of this health stuff, because before I was into this entire health optimization thing, I pretty much spent every night just playing video games past midnight. and then having to wake up for school at like 6 or 7 a.m. And then because I did it so often, my body just grew accustomed to getting tired late at night, but then having to wake up early in the morning. And because I was waking up early off of like 4 or 5 hours of sleep, I felt super tired. I felt groggy all of the time. And so the minute that I actually started to change my sleep schedule to where I'm getting more sleep and that I am going to sleep at like a more reasonable time at like 11 or 10 to wake up at 7, 6, my energy levels throughout the day got drastically better because I was sticking to a consistent sleep schedule that gave me adequate sleep quality. And so if you want to fix your own sleep schedule and stick to a consistent one, the easiest thing that I would recommend is to just set a time for you to just completely wind down. And just during this time, turn off your lights, turn off your phone, or at least dim your lights, dim your phone so that you can actually get into that mood of needing to fall asleep or wanting to fall asleep. And then from there, just pick a time to go to sleep and a time to wake up. And you want to keep this consistent for like as long as you can and maybe even your entire life. But I do understand that it is hard to keep a consistent sleep schedule. Like that is something that I'm not perfect at, but it is something that I always keep in mind every single night and is something that I hold to a high standard, or I like to think I like to hold at a high standard and I like to prioritize. Because even if you don't wake up at the same time or go to sleep at the same time every single day, just as long as you do it majority of the time, you should be good. And so to summarize, habit 1 is to just get morning sunlight. Habit 2 is to delay caffeine intake. Habit 3 is to work in deep focus blocks. Habit 4 is to do some sort of movement or exercise. And habit 5 is to keep a consistent sleep schedule. And so with that being said, those are the 5 most practical science-based health tips to really improve your energy and focus throughout the day. And that is everything from this summary. I hope you are able to apply these tips into your own life to improve your own health. And let me know what other topics you would want me to go over in the comments. And I will see you in the next video. Goodbye.